of x. Every point on that function is x comma y. If I want to now make and take that f of x and this time subtract a given value, what happens is that entire function goes down. Let's draw that in a little bit better. Okay, I like that better. So what is happening, again, all of my x values stay the same. Those x values everywhere on the graph all stay the same. They've just gone down by whatever that unit d is, whatever that value is that I'm translating the piece down. So my x and y value from my original function stay the same, except for the fact that I have to now subtract whatever that d is. And if I look at this piece, again, this would be 0, 0. And in this case, when I drew this, that would be f of x minus 2. If you notice this new point right there, that's going to be 0, negative 2. And that pattern stays the same for everything that we're doing. We're going to go ahead and take a look at a vertical reflection next. Now, the vertical reflection that everyone knows the best is probably that of the parabola. Where you have the function is equal to x squared. And then if it becomes a different function of negative x squared, which means, remember, I'm taking my function and multiplying the negative on the outside, that parabola completely comes and reflects down. All of the x values stay the same no matter where you are on the graph. Your x values will stay the same, but what happens are the y values get multiplied by a negative 1. So let's go ahead and try a question that uses this and puts all of this together. All right, so this is our new function. Let's just go ahead and call this function f of x. And the points are listed on the graph. I want to graph the resulting transformations of f of x minus 2. And again, what this means is it is a vertical transformation. It gets and it's a translation down. So what that means is our original points for this value would have been x, y. So that transformation going down, that changes that the x value stays exactly the same. But what happens to the y value is you are subtracting 2 from that y value. So we're going to go ahead and just build a little chart for this. So this is my x value. This is my y value for the function that I have above in the graph. Those points that I have are, just to make sure I read that correctly. So the first value is going to be negative 4, negative 2. That's this point right here. The next point in the list is 0, 2. Then 2, 2. And finally 4, 0. So my transformation function, my f of x minus 2, everything stays the same for x. All of the x values stay the same. So negative 4 is the same, 0, 2, and 4. What changes is that y value. The y value gets subtracted by 2. So I'm starting over here with negative 2. So that's going to give me now negative 2 minus 2, or negative 4. So my next y value is 2. So that gives me 2 minus 2, which is equal to 0. The same thing for the next y value. That becomes 2 minus 2, which is also 0. And finally, the last one, which is 0. So that's going to be 0 minus 2, or negative 2. Let's go ahead and graph those points that I just made. The first point is going to be there at negative 4, negative 4. The next point is going to be at 0, 0. The third point is 2, 0. And then finally, the last point will be 4, 2, which just is a vertical transformation going down. It works exactly the same way if you were to translate this all up. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing as far as with the same function, but this time we are going to go ahead and we're going to take, and we want to find out what happens if I multiply this by a negative on the outside. We're using the same points as we had before. Our original function f of x has those same 4 points, negative 2, excuse me, negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, 2, 2, and finally 4, 0. So with that negative transformation on the outside, so x stays the same, but y gets multiplied times a negative 1. So those values now become negative 4, negative 2. The next one is 0, excuse me, the negative 2 gets multiplied by a negative and turns that into a positive. 0, and down here, that 2 now becomes a negative 2. So the next one I want to go ahead and do is to transform 2, 2. So 2, 2 becomes 2, negative 2. And the last one actually doesn't change because I can't multiply that 0 times a negative, just stays as 0, so that's 4, 0. So to go ahead and plot those, you'll see that this whole graph takes and flips it. So what this graph is going to do is we're going to take this, and we are going to flip it. And you can see I just went ahead and flipped this whole thing upside down, but let's go ahead and take a look at those points. Now, this is going to be negative 4, 2, which is this point right here. The next point is is 0, 2. Then 2, negative 2. And finally 4, 0 was the one point that stayed the same.